Hi everyone, welcome to week one of our Be Simple Variations knit along. Carolyn, the designer, has very kindly said that we may use her pattern. And so we're just going to get started right away. I'm using Malabrigo sock, but any fingering weight yarn would do. I'm using 4mm needles. Size US 6. I'm using straights just for demonstration purposes because I find they work well for recording, but you can use straights or circulars, I would say. We're not going to worry about gauge on this project just because it doesn't really overly matter because it's a scarf. I would say go for it. If you've got fingering weight yarn, 4mm needles, you're good to go. So we're going to cast on, I'm going to use my favorite cast on, which is the thumb method, our thumb method cast on, which you can watch on our YouTube channel. But you can use whatever cast on you would like. And we're just going to go for it. So cast on 2 stitches. Our very first row says knit front and back. Now knit front and back is where you are going to knit the first stitch, but before you slide that loop off your left needle, you're going to dip your right needle in behind and knit through the back, that loop, that loop at the back. So we're knitting through the front and back of that first stitch. So we've gotten 2 stitches out of 1. Sometimes that's abbreviated KFB in a pattern. And then we're going to knit our last stitch. So there we go. So that was row 1. Row 2, knit until 1 stitch remains, and then KFB again. So now row 3, again, knit front and back, knit until we have 2 stitches left, and we're going to knit those last 2 stitches together. Now our row 4 is knit until 1 stitch remains, knit front and back on that last stitch. Okay, so there's 1 through 4 done. Now rows 5, 6, 7, and 8 are just repeating row 3, 4, 3, 4. So let's do that together. We're going to knit front and back. So this is row 5. Knit until we have 2 stitches left. Knit 2 together. And row 6. Knit until we have 1 stitch left, knit front and back. So that was rows 5 and 6. Now we've got rows 7 and 8. So knit front and back, knit until we have 2 stitches left, knit 2 together, and row 8, knit until we have 1 stitch left, and knit front and back. There we are. So by the end of row 8, you should have 2, 4, 6, 7 stitches on your needle. And you can see the shape starting to take place, or start to happen already. On one side of our scarf, we're going to have a steep increase, and one side we're going to have a shallow decrease. And this is going to give us sort of our asymmetrical shape to our scarf. Okay, so that's rows 1 through 8. Now row 9 is our lace row, or our eyelet row, that's going to give us the little holes in our pattern. So starts off with knit front and back as usual. And then we're into the repeat that we're going to repeat across our row. And as you can see, there's an asterisk on your pattern, and we're going to repeat what is between the asterisks. So we start with knit 2 together, just a normal knit 2 together, and then it says yarn over, which is sometimes abbreviated YO or YFWD, yarn forward. So you bring your yarn between the needles like you were going to purl, but you're not going to purl because you're going to knit your next 2 stitches together. And that yarn over creates a loop over our needle. Knit 2 together, yarn over, and that's the end of our, that's what is between the asterisks. Knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over. So we end with our yarn over, and at the end of our row it says work until 2 stitches remain, knit those last 2 stitches together. Okay, so that's our row 9 row, our lace row, and you can see these little holes here. Those are the beginnings of your lace row. And then row 10 is always, you've probably guessed by now, your even numbered rows are always going to be a row 4. That's always what an even numbered row is going to be. So we knit until we have 1 stitch left. Oh, and I should say too that we're just knitting our yarn overs like they were normal stitches. Okay, nothing fancy, we just treat them normally. We knit until we have 1 stitch left, and we knit front and back. So at the end of row 10, you should have 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches. Okay, so that's from rows 1 to 10. Let's leave it at that tonight, and we'll get back together tomorrow night, do rows 11 through 16 together, and then we'll talk about how to carry on in the next part of the pattern. So do rows 1 through 10, and then let's meet up here same time tomorrow evening, and we'll carry on. Happy knitting!